and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharp Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharp Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharp Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpway Radio on the Voice of Liberty in glorious Western New York. The number to call if you want to chat with me after the first break, 585 346 3000. Well, it looks like everyone's talking trade war and stuff's going crazy and the world's ending. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But it made me think about a time when I thought there may be war. And that was actually back in the early 90s. I was a Marine during the first Gulf War. During the first Gulf War, I was trying to get myself over to Saudi Arabia at the time, which I know sounds crazy. But I was a young, motivated Marine, and I actually wanted to go to combat. I know that sounds nuts, but it's true. And if you're listening now and you were a veteran during combat, many people, you want to go. So did I. I was very motivated. I tried to get my monitor to send me, and he said, Sergeant Sharpe, you are very motivated. I said, I am. He said, I want to keep you as a platoon sergeant in schools to train the reservists to get them excited so they can go over too. And I was like, that's not what I wanted to hear at all. But that's what happened. So I was a platoon sergeant at schools at the time. I didn't know what to do. So now what do? I'm supposed to motivate these guys. I'm part of a small detachment on an army base. I'm a Marine. What am I going to do? So I went back to basics. Literally, I went back to basics. I remembered my time in the Marine Corps. I remember my time as on a football team. Back to basics, right? If you've ever played football, they will always tell you, first thing to do is, understand your blocking and tackling, your basics, and then move forward from there. I thought the same thing. So I started on a daily basis, drill, right? Marching with my platoon. I had a detachment. So the entire platoon, maybe 50 people, maybe 40, I don't remember. 30 years ago. So we did drills all the time, constant drilling. I then had to go to the Army because we were a Marine detachment. We didn't have any weapons. We didn't have an armory. So I had to go there and borrow weapons from the Army so that I could do basic tactic drills. I had to do them basic tactic drills. And a lot of these guys, they weren't infantry. They were not infantry. They were everything but infantry. But I was doing all the basics, the basic Marine Corps stuff. Why? Because when you go back to the basics, what makes you strong, what makes you savvy, what builds your foundation, you can now move from there. But something else, being able to do the basics well is what gets you into a confidence place where you can do other things. Some of these guys actually went over to the first Gulf War. Some didn't. But all of them were happy that I drilled them for literally months before they went. And I did what I knew, which was the basics. And I drilled them. And it was worth it. That piece was important. Why do I bring this up? Because New York State is suffering. And people don't know what to do. So I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to be the Marine Corps sergeant that maybe we need now. We need to get back to our basics. What has made New York State great? What is New York State's blocking and tackling for football? Or what is its drill and squad tactics as Marines? What's the difference? What makes that happen? In New York, it's been three things. Three things. Farming, finance, and forward thinking. Those are the three things that have made New York great. And when you say that to most people who aren't New Yorkers and they hear farming, they go, farming? New York? Farming? That's not New York. Oh, no, that's really New York. New York has always been a massive farming state. Way back in the day, it was hemp. Before they made that illegal, used to be hemp. Now it's usually dairy, right? And everything else, soybeans, corn, we do all the things. Onions. New York makes lots of agricultural products, tons of them, and has for literally centuries. And it used to be that was a big part of what we did and what mattered. Small farms were a critical part of New York State, particularly upstate. Downstate too, but particularly upstate. It was a massive part of our lifestyle. Not just that, finance. Clearly, New York State, New York City, the finance capital of the country for sure, and at times the world. So much finance coming through here. New York Stock Exchange, all the commerce that came through here and still does, but used to be the biggest thing in the entire country. Finance was huge for us. But I'll go further. We had forward thinking. The Erie Canal. That was New York. That was crazy. No one thought we could do that. New York State did it. Built that canal from Buffalo to Albany, right? Linked the Great Lakes to the Hudson River. Crazy. You can't do that. Yeah, we did. We built the Empire State Building in like 2 weeks. I'm kidding, but you know what I'm saying. We built the Twin Towers, and we built it on recaptured land, like on garbage dumps. We did that too. That was New York. Building things like that, doing things like that. Not just that, we made Mormonism. Yeah, we did. New York State made Mormonism. You're welcome, Utah. You are welcome. We did that. New York did all those things. We had the innovative companies. We had Corning and Kodak when that was the cool thing. Right? We did all those things. That was New York. Where are we now? All the things that I talked to you about, all the things that I mentioned, they're all of the past. They're not of the future or even of the present. New York was a place you came to be somebody. I'm someplace else, and I don't think I can be the person I want to be. I'm going to go to New York so I can be somebody. That's what it was. Remember the song? If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. You came to New York so you could be somebody. Now you leave New York to be somebody. I'm not joking. You get your education here. You still have good colleges. And then you leave to go be somebody. You get raised here in New York City. You get raised in some city upstate. You find your way off to some college. And then you leave because you want to go be somebody. You can't be anybody here. Most people can't. That's changed because of those three critical things. That's the basics for this state. That's the basics. All right. So what happened? Did we just get lazy? Is that what happened? We just got lazy? No. The reason why we were able to do that is because we had an environment, a culture, a government that encouraged all of those things. We had a government, a culture, an environment that encouraged all of those things. So when some guy says, let's build a canal from Buffalo to Albany, we were like, all right, let's go do that. Done. Hey, let's have an environment to where let's make a stock exchange and let's just buy and sell like everything. We're like, okay, let's do that. Hey, let's build 2 massive towers at the edge of this little island on a garbage dump. And they went, yeah, okay, let's do that. The Empire State Building. You know how much government money went to the Empire State Building? None. Yeah, none. Privately funded. The Empire State Building. Privately funded. Oh, where are you going, Larry? Are you going to blame government on this? Of course I am. I'm Larry Sharpe, the libertarian. Of course I was going to blame government on this. Of course I was. Because what's the biggest difference between then and now when it comes to environment, when it comes to culture, when it comes to government? Government intervention and government control. Number one. Number one difference is that right now the government controls our education. Controls it completely. Didn't before. So people could learn, go off on their own, and go do great things here in New York. Now the government controls all our education, controls all our healthcare. Not just that. In New York State, big businesses don't come here. Interesting businesses don't come here unless the government invests in them. Government funding, government investing is how all new business comes into New York State. That's how you hear it. We're going to get Micron because government. We're going to get this because government. We're going to get Amazon because government. Our environment is so bad that they have to bribe business to come here. And we're like, that's okay. Let's just make more government. What? That's the problem. There is no way it would work. But Larry, what about innovation and that forward-thinking thing? Oh, we can't do any of that either. Because if government doesn't spearhead it, it gets crushed. How do I know that? Because we can't have AI unless our Queen Kathy, first of her name, worshiper of the jab, banisher of conservatives, unless she says we can make it in our colleges, it's not good. Doesn't mean anything. Government has put itself in the middle of our forward thinking, in the middle of our finance, in the middle of our growth, and it is slowly anymore, crushing our farmers. Why? Because it's controlling. When it comes to dairy, we are now price takers, not price makers. And when it comes to everything else, we rely on government to market. We rely on government to support. We don't rely on ourselves at all. What made New York State amazing is even though it was New York State, it had a frontier spirit. It wasn't the frontier, but it had a frontier spirit. That's where it's gone. But we can't fix it. Can we? You can tell me if you think I'm wrong. I mean, I'm right. But you can tell me if you think I'm wrong. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe on the Voice of Liberty, Shortwave Radio, back with your calls and your chat. I do see you after the break.
For the last couple of years, Joe Robach has been telling you about Flower City Collision in Henrietta, saying that it was started by a veteran along with his son, Zach. Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and I am that veteran. I want to thank the WYSL listeners for their support over the last couple of years. During those years, not only have I experienced the gratification of providing you the best repairs and customer service, it has also allowed me the opportunity to see my son develop as a young professional. So remember, Flower City Collision for your collision repair needs. And thank you for supporting our locally owned family business.
Most banks offer you a choice. Or maybe it would be better to say they demand a choice. Technology so you can bank like you want to, or relationships so you can get advice when you need it. But when you choose to bank with Tompkins, you can have it all. Powerful technology and the power of a face-to-face talk about your future. Because both are part of the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Open an account today at tompkinsbank.com.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies depicting the colorful WYSL logo or the already famous Mount Rushmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Sharpeway Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Way Radio on the Voice of Liberty here in glorious Western New York. 585-346-3000. You know, I've been talking about how do we fix this, heading back to the basics, where the problems have been, right? What's the issues and concerns that people are having? It's getting back to those basics: farming, finance, and forward thinking. We can grow all of them. Let me grab a couple of comments if I could. I know some of you guys are popping up online. I want to grab a couple of them before I move on. John says, normalize the craft farming industry like beer and wine industry. Yes, right? The piece you are bringing up, John, which is exactly correct, which is in New York State, as we try to control farming, we wind up harming it. What makes farmers great is when they can individually figure things out, sometimes fail, but often be successful. What we have to do is treat them like small businesses in every single way. They should be treated in small business as a small business when it comes to insurance, when it comes to workers, when it comes to small business loans, all those things. In addition, the law that you've heard me talk about more than once, John, and I'll bring it up again. It's based on an idea out of Wyoming. If you are a farmer in New York State and you agree just by signing a sheet of paper that you will sell only within New York State, you will be immune from all federal regulatory bodies. Why does that matter? Because now you can compete. Most of the rules for farmers are created by large farms and enforced by federal guidelines. So it crushes small farmers. They can't do things like sell some of their goods. They also can't do things like it affects how they slaughter their animals, all those things. Well, you don't have to anymore. Now it's just local. Now, the rule would be, of course, to be fair to the consumer, you'd have to post someplace, obviously, on your farm that you do not follow federal guidelines. And then the consumer can go, hey, I don't trust that. I'm not buying, or I don't care. I'm going to buy. The consumer has a choice, whichever they want. But now the farmer can much easier do things like farm to table, much easier sell directly to stores, directly to diners, all of those things. So the farmer now has more options. Again, treat them like a small business. So what does that mean? Let's say the farmer wants to create a small store on their farm or a small manufacturing plant to create some kind of product. Let them, they're a business. Why fight them? Let them grow it. Let them do it. Let them build it. Do it. You may go, Larry, they'll make more money. Yes. They'll compete. Yes. We won't have to bribe a yogurt company to come in. We'll have local craft yogurts, local craft ice creams. How do I know that? John just brought it up. Beer and wine industry. It's already happening in New York State. There's an example of it already working. And this would actually work. But something more important, John, something that is not about the money, but kind of is, but not really. It's about family. If you know a farmer or you are a farmer, you know one of the problems farmers have, which is keeping their family together on the farm. Most people struggle with that. Why? There aren't many opportunities. You've got to have a secondary job. You can't make money. But imagine if you could just decide to make a craft cheese or a craft, hemp product, whatever, because of course you should make hemp utterly legal in New York State also. You do that, and all of a sudden now you've got a son or a daughter who doesn't want to work on a farm, but wants to be in marketing. Great, market for the farm. You've got a son or a daughter who doesn't want to be in a farm, but they want to be in operations. Great, do operations for the farm. I got a son or daughter who doesn't want to be in a farm, but they want to be in human resources. Great, do human resources for the farm. Done. You can keep your kids with you. You keep your family together. Give them more opportunities. Now, I know people will tell me, well, Larry, not every farmer wants to go be a business owner. Awesome. You don't have to be. It's voluntary. A bunch of farmers would love to do that. And as more of them go do that, more of you are able to make more money. How? I'll bring dairy as an example. If all of a sudden a chunk, 20%, whatever that chunk is, of dairy farmers decide, 10% even, decide we're going to go off and do craft ice creams and craft cheeses or whatever, it's 10%. That's 10% less milk on the market, which means your milk price goes up, which means you have a choice of being a price taker or a price maker, And either way, you can make more money and survive better on your farm. So it works even if you choose to not do the thing. You don't have to. You know some will, because that's how the world works. Some people, to John's point, will jump on that day one. Some will wait a little bit and jump on later. Some will jump on a whole lot later, but some will jump on, whatever that percentage is. Make it better for all the people who don't. Because now the market says, aha, you are more valuable. So no matter what, there is a victory in this. Exactly correct, right? But you have to add one piece. Merlin says it. Stupid state keeps farmers from doing so much. No cannabis industry. Yes, 100%. He also goes on to say, state regulations make farmers poison the food. Also accurate. So how about we stop that? Again, as long as farmers post what regulations they're following, let the people decide. If you want to drink raw milk, why would I stop you? But Larry, raw milk is bad. Then don't buy it. No worries. In fact, if nobody buys raw milk, they'll stop selling it because nobody buys it because it's so bad. I'm not making a stand on whether raw milk is good or bad. I'm saying let people choose. And if it is that bad, and if all those naysayers are right and it's terrible, people will stop buying it, right? And if it's not so bad and people like it and feel healthy with it, then they'll keep buying it, right? There we go. But again, there's no force here. Let the farmers be farmers. Let them have their own forward thinking. There's tons of things that could be done on a farm that I wouldn't know about. I'm not a farmer. I live in New York City. I don't know a damn thing about farming. And it's fine. I don't have to. I'm not supposed to. I'm not a farmer. So here's the best part. I'm not a farmer. So why am I making farm rules? Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't do that because I don't know about farms. So maybe I shouldn't make all the rules. Does our queen think that? Oh, no. Her words, I will never give up my right to protect all New Yorkers. I didn't know she had that right, but I guess queens have whatever rights they say. Phil says, we know Larry's right because New Zealand ended subsidies in the 1970s, and the farm industry grew bigger than ever before on high-value craft foods. Yes, it's not like I'm making this up. It's not like I just said, you know what? How about this random thing? No, it's based on something real. And that piece is what I think is critical. So Mike Voss is in the house. He says, yes, I too was ready to go to Kuwait. Young Marines are always gung-ho. 100%, brother. And you know what? Good on them for training us to be fearless, for training us to want to go to war, right? If you're going to make Marines, they need to want to go to war, or don't make Marines. Totally correct. So for those who don't know, Mike also in Marines like I am. And same time frame. So yes, we're in during the same time. So he understands completely. We all wanted to go. That war lasted 5 minutes. So most of us of that age range didn't get a chance to go. The second time we went to Iraq, wow, that was a whole lot longer. A whole lot more Marines went there. And Afghanistan, a whole lot more went there. But when Mike and I were in, it was basically a 5-minute war. If I remember right, something like, we took a total of like 100 casualties, something like that. I mean, obviously, if you're one of those casualties, I actually know one guy. It's crazy. I know one guy as a forward observer who actually passed away from in that war. And there weren't many, but I happen to know a guy. It's crazy. We weren't like buddies. We were in the same unit. That's how I knew him. So, yeah. Andrea says, what a concept to have people that actually know about an industry be the ones who write the laws for those industries. I know. Nuts, Andrea. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. You can tell me I'm crazy if you want to. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty. Back with your calls and more of your chat after the break.
Okay, we got a phone call. Jim from St. Louis. You're welcome.
God bless America.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon, Rochester. WLEA WCKR FM, Cornell.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll see mostly cloudy skies, windy and cold, couple of flurries, temps in the 20s. On Wednesday, sun and clouds, nothing more than a flurry, temps in the 30s, low 40s. On Thursday, clouds on the increase. Could be a little wintry mix over to rain in the afternoon as temperatures climb back up into the mid-40s. I'm Rich Cornelia for the Voice of Liberty.
Canisteo Valley Update.
At Arkport Central School last night, the Board of Education discussed the upcoming budget. Arkport School Superintendent Jesse Harper asked the board members for their thoughts on a possible tax increase after some discussion on possible options. The school board decided on a proposed 2.5% tax increase. School Superintendent Jesse Harper.
Our allowable tax cap is 3.5%. And so the board approved to put into the proposed budget today 2.5. So we're finding the middle ground between what we can raise and what our community is going to support at that 2.5%.
Now, these are just tentative numbers. The official budget has not been presented yet. And Harper also says school budget voting days for the Arkport voters will be held on Tuesday, May the 20th. I'm Brian O'Neill for the Voice of Liberty.
When you think chicken, think Stearns Poultry Farm Stores. Stearns Poultry Farm Stores with 2 locations, Seneca Street, Hornell, and Route 244 in Alfred Station. Stearns, the best chicken in these parts.
Discover unparalleled quality products at Springwater Amish Workshop. They're your destination for premium Amish crafted sheds, gazebos, and furniture. Their quality storage sheds boast an incredible 30-year warranty on the structure. Even the economy line of sheds backed with a 15-year warranty. Sheds are made with grade 1 or 2 kiln-dried lumber, lifetime architectural shingles with free delivery within a 40-mile radius of the showroom. All this offered to you at very competitive prices. That's product confidence you won't find elsewhere. Get ready for summer with weather-resistant outdoor poly furniture or pressure-treated pine pieces so you'll be ready for outdoor living the moment the weather breaks. Springwater Amish Workshop. Only the best in Amish workmanship, heirloom quality products backed by the best warranties and outstanding customer service. Visit today or explore the online selection at springwateramishworkshop.com. Springwater Amish Workshop, 7936 Mill Street, Route 15, Springwater, where timeless craftsmanship meets modern reliability. Store hours 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, Saturday 9 to 3.
Your go-to standard of specialized business insurance coverage. MGM Associates of Rochester, now serving the region and beyond in New York. Since 1984, MGM has provided leading coverage from a wide range of carriers. Not only home, condo, boat, motorcycle, and auto, but also specialized policies for all types of businesses, including nonprofits and law firms, livery insurance, property insurance, and bonds for all needs. MGM Associates of Rochester provides auto, workers' comp, healthcare, and liability insurance. Choose from virtual appointments or good old in-office, in-person consults by appointment at our Penfield office. 5-time consecutive winner of the National Best Practices Award, MGM is proud to support veterans groups. For your personal, business, home, or professional insurance needs, meet the experienced staff at MGM Associates, locally and proudly owned at 1745 Penfield Road in Penfield, 381-7008 or mgminsured.com. An associate of Chautauqua Patrons Insurance, 523 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York.
For your exterior home improvement with high-quality workmanship, contact Callan Contracting. Locally owned, Callan's own installers will do it right. Callan specializes in asphalt and metal roofing, gutters and siding. Fully insured, free estimates. Serving Livingston and surrounding.
Okay, we have another caller after Jim. We'll have Keith.
2761.
You're welcome.
Website, CallanContracting.com. Mention WYSL and save 5% off roofing or gutters.
An experienced professional with more than 20 years in dentistry, Dr. David Olivo welcomes new patients to his family practice at 2005 Lyle Avenue. At the office of Dr. Olivo, you'll discover a warm and comforting environment staffed by professionals who are committed to providing the best available dental care while assuring your complete comfort. Call 328-3382 for an appointment. Dr. David Olivo, offering quality dentistry with a gentle touch.
North, south, east, and west, 24/7 we'll be there. Turnbull Heating and Air, you'll be comfortable with the best. Turnbull Heating and Air.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty. 585-346-3000 is the number to reach out to me. A quick comment I have. It seems that I have someone here watching, Alexa, who's from Utah. Well, great. You're welcome. New York State made Mormonism and filled your state. So there we go. You are welcome. Let me grab a call if I could. This is Jim. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing good, Larry. How are you?
What's going on?
Well, I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that's going on with the trade war. And my biggest problem with what's been going on is that I think America is still under the impression that we are the end all be all, we're like the center of the universe. And, let's be honest, the BRICS nations are coming. They've built up enough to where they can say.
We still are at the moment, as nations go, the biggest part of the economy, of the global economy. That's the biggest part. We're not more than 50%, but we are still the biggest chunk. I think that's still true, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. But again, like I was saying, I think the BRICS nations, they're not resting on their laurels. True. A lot of, when we tried to sanction Russia after they invaded Ukraine and Biden was hitting them with the mother of all sanctions and they couldn't sell their oil and gas to Europe, India and China said, we'll buy your oil and gas. And Russia recovered
and sell it at a markup to Europe.
That's true.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I agree. But the BRICS nations, while I think you're right, they are on their way up. I agree. They just aren't there yet, if that makes any sense. They're still at least, maybe longer, but at least a decade, maybe two, from really being able to fight us. And the reason is the disadvantage to the BRICS that has in the past not existed in the EU or the Western or the NATO nations is that their foreign policies and ideas are very varied. Like Brazil and India and South Africa and Russia and China don't have much in common. Now, to your point, there's one thing they've had in common, which is let's screw America over. That part they've had in common, but that's kind of been it. Am I wrong?
No, you're not completely wrong. I just view it as they are forming a way to become an economic power. True. And again, I don't know if they're really like China. I don't think they really care about how the world runs. They just want to do business.
Well, I think the Russians are much more that way. I think the South Africans are much more that way. I think China does have a chip on their shoulder from the many hundreds of years they were basically colonized. I do think they have a chip on their shoulder. I don't think the Brazilians have that same chip, nor do the South Africans, nor do the Indians. They don't have the same chip. They have their own chips on their shoulders, but not that one. So I think that's my point. I think they're different. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think the issue is America isn't as powerful as some people think, but it's still powerful. If it wasn't powerful, then the tariffs would have no consequence. What if, as an example, what if Sri Lanka decided to put tariffs on everybody? Nobody would care. You probably wouldn't even hear about it. Let if Sri Lanka said, that's it. We're putting 400% tariffs on every country in the world. We'd be like, okay. Good luck with that. And that'd be it. It might be a blip on some newspaper someplace. But I think when America does it, it matters. And I think that kind of proves the point that America has more power. Am I making sense?
Yes. And again, I do believe that we do have power now, but we've slowly been shrinking.
Yes.
And I think it's because of both parties, not just one or the other.
No, I think you're right. And I think what you hear, if you are a fan of Trump's tariffs, then that is the answer, right? People believe that's the way in the long run you build internally in America to make it much more of a powerhouse again, right? That's the whole idea behind this. I'm not sold on this idea. I'm telling you what that would be the idea. So I think they're agreeing with you, saying that we are in trouble. This is how we fix it. The problem is the Democrats have had no answer. They're just like okay with being weaker. They haven't said anything. They haven't said, here's how we fix it. They worry about, I don't know, stuff that doesn't mean anything. They're worried much more about virtue signaling than they are making the country better. The Republicans, while you may disagree with it, that is their goal. Am I making sense, Jim?
Kinda. I mean, but I think the best thing we all need to do is, I think at the end of the day, we're just all going to have to sit down and talk to each other, and maybe we're going to have a multi-powered world, which may not be the worst thing in the world, at least not to me.
Yeah, look, as long as America has a nice, comfy seat at the table, I'm with you, right? I don't need America to be the hegemon. I don't need America to be the policeman of the world. I don't need America to be the dominant colonizer. None of those things. I don't need America to be the empire of the world. I don't require any of that. I'm with you. At the same time, I don't want America to fall into my biggest worry. And my biggest worry is America falls into permanent stagnation, similar to Japan, where I think England kind of is now, but England's also collapsing. At least Japan isn't collapsing. It's just like in a permanent stagnation. I feel like England is actually collapsing. I think Germany is either going to fall into stagnation or collapse. They may stay in stagnation or they may collapse. My worry is we do the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest, all empires fall. It's the fate of all empires.
Yes,
so
but a falling empire, I think, doesn't have to be the end of the nation state, if that makes any sense. It has been, but I don't think it has to be.
Right, and that's why I'm saying, we need to sit down with, China and India and all these nations. And, again, I want us to have a seat at the table too, and I want us to have a comfy seat. At the same time, we have to understand that this is not right after World War II. Many of the nations of the world, they have rebuilt.
Yep.
I think that's kind of what was our problem has been, because right after World War II, we were like the only nation that didn't have bombs drop on us except for Pearl Harbor.
After World War II, America was 50% of all manufacturing on the planet. I completely agree. Jim, I got to grab another call. I will talk to you.
Keith.
Thank you for the call. Let me grab Keith if I could. Keith, how are you?
Jim may be your friend, but I hate his kind. What a weakling. Jim, go back to sleep. The reason the BRICS nations are on the rise is because we both parties, he was right on that, you too, have let us down because many Americans today don't have common sense. And you, Jim, we don't talk to the commie Chinese. They're all about power and taking over the world. What a weakling, everyone. Jim, go back to sleep in St. Louis.
Man, okay.
If you want a strong
Jim,
country,
Go ahead.
You want a strong country, it's Ronald Reagan's, we are the shining light on the hill. If anything happens to the United States, the rest of the world knows they can kiss it goodbye. We are still the big good guy on the block, and the Jims of the world have better understand that. I wanted to ask you, have you ever talked yourself personally to Hochul? Has she ever talked to you?
No, her team has in the past. During the 2022 election, Her team and my team talk,
come on
but
every
her
week.
personally never.
You come on every week with, I guess, quasi-good ideas. The Democrats control this state. You, libertarian, could come on every week and talk this and that, but you're not in power. And just as the Democrats, as you were saying to Jim, want to hurt this country, whereas at least Republicans and conservatives are trying to save it, until the Democrats are ousted out of this former empire state, you libertarians will get no hearing, just as no Republican can get a bill through in the supermajority in Albany. And I don't understand with your premise every week why you don't understand it. Until the Democrats are gotten rid of, you and your good ideas go nowhere.
So let me touch both. So Jim, you and me both got burned by Keith today. Doesn't matter. I love you, Keith. I'm glad you keep calling. Let me be very full with you. You're right. Your assumption that I don't know that is utterly false. And it should be obvious that it's false. I'm the one who've told you and told everybody here that the Republicans cannot win a statewide election in this state anymore. It is impossible. They haven't won one in 23 years and will not win one now. The red people keep leaving. They're going to Florida. So who's left? Independents. How do I know that? Democrats will not vote for Republicans. As bad as you hate Democrats, they hate you, Keith. They're not going to vote for you either. This is mutual. The one group of people who they will vote for is guys like me, independents, libertarians. I know this because I've done polling. I've spent money on polling. I've spent over $1 million trying to run for office in two separate times in this state, and took 2 years out of my life. So I do know how that actually works. The only way to make it work is to get enough New Yorkers to understand, stop voting for Republicans, stop voting for Democrats at a statewide level, not locally. Locally, Republicans win, locally, Democrats win, and vote for independents. Like myself, I spend every week talking to you so that people understand that. If I get 5 people every single week to change their mind, I win. If more people start doing it, we all win. I'm here for the long haul, as you can see. I've been doing this now for about 8 years, and I'm not done. If I keep doing this, it's our only hope, Keith, because you're right. The Democratic stranglehold has to be broken in this state. Republicans cannot do it. They've been trying. They've been failing. There is no chance. You give me the money that the Republicans have, you give me the infrastructure Republicans have, I will bet you any amount of money that I take this state. You name the amount, I will bet it, because I will win. I will take this state, and I will bring the people with me, and I will make change. What I don't have is the cash and the infrastructure. Not enough of it, at least. If I make that happen, I will win. I hope at least that makes sense, Keith.
I lost Keith. Quickly, the red states.
Oh, there he is.
The red states will keep rising, and the blue states are in decline.
True. I don't want my state to decline, though. That's this whole show. I'm with you. I don't want that to happen. I want to stop it. So am I right? Is Keith right? Is Jim right? You can tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio, the voice of liberty. Back with more calls and more of your chat after the break.
Donald Trump and conservatives may have won, but you know the left will unceasingly try to undermine society and spread evil, targeting the innocent and God-fearing, especially our children. Help promote a truth-based society and try something different in 2025. The WYSL stations can grow your business, professional practice, or organization, so allocate your ad dollars here. Reach our huge audience, entertained, inspired, and informed by leading conservative thought. Affordable, effective. The WYSL stations, the voice of liberty. Call 585-346-3000 to advertise.
I'm Greece Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Joe Robach. If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber. We are the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we are better together, and together we can move your business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today. You'll be glad you did.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before
We have Roger.
from 10 a.m. Tuesday through
You're welcome.
Avon Gun, East Main Street, next to Tompkins Community Bank.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty. So happy that you're giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. We have been talking about how to make New York better, how to make New York great again. Farming, finance, and forward thinking, how we can move this forward. I think what I was talking about when I was trying to kind of explain what the tariffs are supposed to do when Jim was talking, Mike Voss has a comment. He says, short-term pain from tariffs will lead to renewed innovation and opportunity as self-reliance surges. Politicos with agendas focus on status quo, thus proclaim doom and gloom with no comment on long-term. Mike, I hope you're right. I worry Jim is right. I hope you're right. I'm, as you know, I'm off. I'm not on or off. I'm not on or for or against. That's better. I'm not for or against this plan yet because I don't know what's going to happen. Trump's been right in the past. Is he right again? I'm following the same thing, right? Ken brings this up. Ken says, is there anything we can learn from Argentina and their election of libertarian president? And my answer, Ken, is yes, wait a year. And that's what I said about him, Milei, and I think a year later we can see overall he was correct. There has been pain and mistakes, but overall he has been correct. I'm trying to give Trump a year, and I'm going to hope Jim is wrong. He may be right. I'm going to hope Mike is right. He may be wrong. I think we wait a year and we see, did it do what it was supposed to do? Did it not? And I know that's hard for people who are in trouble. It's hard for people who want change now. I get it. The problem is we've been so broken for so long, the change isn't even possible. It just isn't possible. So, yeah, we'll hope. Let me, if I could, take a call. This is Roger. Roger, how are you?
Larry.
What's going on?
Bring back hemp. Bring back hemp.
Yes, yes, brother. Bring it back. Yes.
But as an agricultural cooperative, a producer cooperative, but also.
Well, what I would say is, if you bring back hemp, you could easily create, craft hemp products like hempcrete, and things like that. You could do a lot of good things, which would spur a bunch of small businesses. I think to your point and my point we bring up often, if we do allow for public banks and even localized credit unions backed by a public bank, you could get people to create co-ops a whole lot easier, and you can make a lot of local farms get together and make, even localized community farms in theory. Again, all voluntarily, as people see fit, whatever works, maybe even larger families getting together as they see fit. You could change the environment. I agree.
Yep. Also, you forget, we were also a manufacturing base. When it comes to the Midwest, people forget that New York State is part of the Midwest, just the west end of it. Remember we had all those factories, Kodak, General Mills, General Electric, Remington, Franklin Automotive Company.
Corning.
All of that.
Yep.
But also the whole thing with, I understand what Trump is trying to do, trying to cause short-term pain with the tariffs, so that the corporations, the shareholders will relent and be like, okay, all right, well, we'll come back. I think it would be a better idea is to start new companies here and build out the cooperative economy. You feel what I'm saying? So,
but the problem that we have with that, Roger, again, I agree, but there are two problems we have with that. And both of them go back to finance and to government control. New York is not friendly to business, including co-ops, and the finance industry, as you know, hates co-ops because they don't have enough control over it. They don't like it. So we have to
Right.
make
I
a
was talking-
change in our government to allow it, to make it easier and more beneficial for financiers to get behind co-ops. And we don't have that now.
So I was talking about, well, I went to the federal part, actually, when I was talking about
okay.
Trump. In terms of, we need federal investment in helping to build out and start the cooperative economy to give it a kickstart. So now we can start owning as workers these businesses and, you know, communities and workers, you know, just like I was talking to you about the power plants, the nuclear power plants.
Yeah, but the problem you have with that, I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's so hard because most unions, as you know, are against co-ops.
Yep.
So I know people would think it's not true, but it's absolutely true. Because if you have more co-ops, you don't require as many unions. Which I don't care. I'm not pro-union or pro-co-op. I'm pro-people being happy and having ownership of their work. If you'd rather do it via union, if you'd rather do it via co-op, if you'd rather say, look, I don't care. I just want to be a contractor. I don't care. I don't mind.
Right.
But the problem is right now, all of them are suffering.
Yeah. But most of the unions in New York State are public sector unions. We don't have that many private sector unions. So the co-op would be in the private sector anyway. They wouldn't really be a threat.
I think that's true. The question, though, is if you make that easier, do people leave government work and go to those co-ops?
Well,
Another issue, because
we'll
you'd have actually control over
find
your
a way.
work product.
We'll find a way. Also, it's all about not the government in and of itself, but who controls government. And if we don't have the ability to be citizen lawmakers and citizen ratifiers of our own amendments, then it really won't matter who controls what party is in power.
Agreed. And we have yes. Yeah. I do think that if we had a citizen ballot initiative, it would be another way, right? This is actually Keith's point. Keith's talking about, you know, Democrats are in charge. True. With citizen ballot initiatives, we would have a chance to break some of their power with the power of the people without the elites just saying we want what we want. So I think that would help also.
We would be in charge. We would be in charge. Not no party, not no politician. We would be in charge. That's what I'm all about.
I like it. I'm agreeing. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the call. Look, I always talk about this when Roger calls. Roger wants more worker co-ops. Me too. I think it's a great idea. I'm not a fan of federal investment. I think you change the environment. I think you change it so that banks are happy to invest in co-ops, and you let the market decide what makes the most sense, right? I'm sure, I don't know which ones, but I'm sure some industries will probably be more efficient with more individual centralized control, and some industries will be better with completely centralized control, and some will go back and forth and let the market decide. And there'll be some individuals who are just amazing leaders who will be so powerful and awesome that people won't even want to have unions. They won't even want to have co-ops, and some that they will jump on. I think we let the people decide, put them in power, and whatever happens, happens. That is a great way to end this show. Guys, thank you so much for giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.
Okay, have a good day.